There is nothing quite like biting into a sun-warmed, homegrown tomato. The burst of flavor, the juicy sweetness, and the rich aroma, these are the rewards every gardener dreams of. Yet for many, this dream remains just out of reach. I know this struggle well. For years, my tomato harvest looked promising but tasted disappointing. I remember the anticipation each summer. I would wander down the garden path, hoping for that perfect tomato. But time and again, I found myself faced with watery, bland fruits. They looked the part, plump and red, but the taste was always a letdown. Was I missing a secret that everyone else seemed to know? This essay is for anyone who has felt that same frustration. If you've ever wondered why your tomatoes don't taste as good as you hoped, you are not alone. I want to share the secret that changed everything for me. It's simple, easy, and it transformed my tomatoes from dull to delicious. Let's dig into the journey from disappointment to delight and discover how you can grow your own mouth-watering tomatoes. Tomatoes can be tricky. Sometimes, no matter how much care you give, the results fall flat. I tried everything: watering on schedule, pinching out side shoots, and feeding with tomato food. Still, the taste was underwhelming. The texture was often mushy, and the fruits seemed to lack that special something. Bland tomatoes are a common complaint. They might look perfect on the outside, but inside they can be watery and flavorless. Some seasons the skins were tough and the flesh mealy. Other times the plants would drop their fruit before it even ripened. It felt like a losing battle. I read every gardening book I could find. I watched experts on television, hoping for a tip that would unlock the secret. I even tried growing different tomato varieties from cherry to beefsteak, but the results were always the same. My tomatoes just didn't have that homegrown magic. Each year I wondered if it was something in the air, or perhaps just bad luck. But deep down, I knew there had to be a reason for my tomato troubles. Desperation led me to experiment. I changed my watering routine, hoping less water would concentrate the flavor. I pruned more, then less. I tried growing tomatoes in pots, in raised beds, and directly in the ground. I even bought expensive feeds and supplements, convinced they would make a difference. I remember one year in particular. I invested in rare tomato seeds from Italy, promising unmatched flavor. I nurtured those seedlings like precious jewels. But when harvest time came, the tomatoes were as bland as ever. It was a crushing disappointment. Friends offered advice. Try this variety, they said. Feed them with seaweed extract. I tried everything, but nothing seemed to work. It was disheartening to put in so much effort and still fall short. I began to wonder if I was simply not cut out for growing tomatoes. But I refused to give up. I knew that somewhere there was an answer. I just needed to look a little deeper. One day, while turning over a patch of earth, it struck me. The soil was hard and compacted, almost lifeless. I realized I had been focusing on the plant, not the ground it grew in. Healthy soil is the foundation of every great garden. Without it, even the best plants will struggle. This was my aha moment. I began to read about soil health, learning that rich, well-aerated soil is key to growing flavorful tomatoes. Compost, I discovered, was not just a fertilizer. It was a way to bring life to the soil. Aeration allowed roots to breathe and water to flow. I decided to change my approach completely. Instead of just feeding the plants, I would feed the soil. I started adding compost generously and made sure the earth was loose and crumbly. Suddenly, gardening felt different. I was nurturing the whole ecosystem, not just the tomatoes. This simple shift in thinking was the key I had been searching for all along. Here's how I did it. First, I gathered kitchen scraps, grass clippings, and fallen leaves to make my own compost. I spread a thick layer, about 2 inches, over my tomato bed in early spring. Then, with a garden fork, I gently turned the soil. This mixed the compost in and created pockets of air. You don't need fancy tools. Just a fork or a spade will do. Push it into the soil, wiggle it back and forth, and move on. The goal is to loosen the earth, not turn it upside down. This lets roots grow deep and strong. The compost feeds the soil and the air helps it stay alive. As the weeks passed, I noticed a difference. The plants grew taller, with deep green leaves. Flowers appeared in clusters, and soon the first fruits began to swell. When harvest time came, the tomatoes were firm, juicy, and bursting with flavor. The skins were thin, the flesh sweet and full. It was a transformation. For the first time, my tomatoes tasted like summer itself. If you want to grow amazing tomatoes, start with the soil. Add compost, homemade or store-bought, every year. Aerate the ground with a fork before planting. It takes just a few minutes, but the results are incredible. Your plants will be healthier, and your harvest will be richer. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Gardening is about working with nature, not against it. Compost and air bring life to the soil, which in turn brings flavor to your tomatoes. The difference is not just in the taste, but in the size, color, and aroma of every fruit. Anyone can do this, whether you have a big garden or just a few pots on a balcony. The secret is simple and within reach. You don't need expensive feeds or rare seeds, just good soil, compost, and a little effort. Give it a try this season. Feed your soil and your tomatoes will reward you with the best flavors you've ever tasted. Happy gardening!